Okay.
is happy to.
Okay. Mary Jo?
Good.
Oh, she can't hear me.
If she joins us, that would just be a delight, but she shouldn't feel any obligation.
I'm hitting her. I'm blindsiding her. She's in the art room working, so I'm just going to yell at her. I'll put you on. Where's the? Okay, hold on. Where's the mute button on these things?
Where's the mute when you need it?
Mary Jo, are you interested in joining the conversation?
I love this. This is truly live. This is truly live. It's like, hey,
this is what friends do.
Exactly. This was my whole thing when I finally got the courage to do all of this stuff that for some people is just regular every day, and for people like me it was camera, microphone, at being seen by other people. Oh, I had no problem being seen. Oh, that's right. You got to share the earbuds, right? It's got to be that cute little. Oh, you're gonna have to switch so that you can. Oh, maybe they like being cheek to cheek.
Oh, we're fine. We're fine.
Oh, you're fine. Tell me your first name.
This is Mary Jo Manus,
Hi.
my wife.
Hi, Mary Jo. This is Jane.
Hi, Jane.
Oh, this is great.
Now, Mary Jo has her education, actually, right? Where you tell them who you are.
Well, I have my master's in art education. I taught art for like 25 years, and mostly at the high school level, but now I'm retired.
And I taught 4th grade, 3rd grade, kindergarten, preschool for about 16 years. And now, I stopped and then I started again. And so it wove in between being a hired caregiver in 90 some homes by the time I was all done. I loved both because it was interacting person to person, and it was assisting, bringing people along. But then it diverges because I had all the curriculum that I needed to work with the children. And each year you started again, right? You got fresh 3rd graders, and you started again, and you were pretty good at it, 2nd, 3rd time through. But with the people that I served, sometimes I spent years with the same person, and I literally had one client for 1 hour because they said, come and assist me because my kids are a little concerned, and I told them I'd hire someone, and I'm going to hire you for 1 hour, and I'm done. So I did. I did. And I verified that everything seemed to be on the up and up. So that's where it diverged. I didn't have a curriculum, and I didn't necessarily change and start doing the same thing again and again with anyone. Everyone's an individual. So that's why I started doing this. I finally woke up and said, I'll have these people talk to each other, and I just get to be in the room. We're going to treat it like a picnic table. If they want to go play Frisbee or horseshoes for a while, they can leave early, meaning if people had to come in late or if they had to get out early from the hour that I had selected, that is fine. That is fine.
Christina, I immediately have a question. Of these 90 people, how many people that you were providing as a caregiver were patients with dementia?
Amazingly, maybe I should say it this way: mild cognitive impairment, concerns of family or doctors, probably over 50%. And that's why I was brought in. There was just enough difficulty with problem solving that didn't used to be there. that just was like a thing happened and I was lost. I didn't know who to call. I didn't know if I should call. And so that sort of a thing, over 50%, because I was brought in so that I would say whoever was caring about them, whoever loved them, wanted to know that there was someone else on deck. But the kind of dementia where you don't just say, have a nice walk, because that is no longer a safe decision. That plus strokes where they could, the person I said would slip seamlessly from hallucinations or a delusional state right back into reality, talking with me, and then would slip into the other. Probably I don't know, less than 24. And because I got to be with these people through a number of years, I went from very, very active, making sure that this person wasn't, because they were very active, and also needed to find something familiar because nothing seemed familiar. They wanted to go home, which you've heard of before. To being with them long enough that it was to the point where I was there because they were often restful, and then would jump up with all the energy of any person who's had a really good nap, and boom, they're off to the races again. And so, we would explore earring collections. We would take walks out to the shop and look at gorgeous art endeavors. It was a delight and a challenge. And I wrote down a lot of things that I noticed would help that person. Sometimes I was the only caregiver besides family. And I thought, someday I'm going to need a sub. I'm going to be on a vacation or sick. So I would write down just helpful diversions that would be, I don't know, comfortable for any caregiver, comfortable to bring up that subject or to take something out of a cupboard that would be interactive. And just understanding maybe how important a favorite fruit was, and a system.
Exactly. We're going to be having more contact with each other. I'm working on my number 4 book, and I write short mini books on dementia caregiving. They're very purposely short. Caregivers don't have time to read.
Yeah, right.
They just don't. Been there, I know it. My 4th book is getting longer and longer. I may have to figure out what to do about that. It's on respite options for dementia caregivers. And it goes over from family and friends to a private caregiver, to a agency, to a memory care center, there's one adult daycare. But each section is going to talk about the differences, the financial responsibilities, the pros and cons, but also I want in family and friends and also the private caregiver to put a questionnaire of what do they like to do? What does the patient like to do? What should you know about the patient? So I'm going to have to talk more with you about when I start working on that chapter.
Oh, I am so glad. And as you get closer to publishing, are you already familiar with Chris Chana? Chana.
I don't believe so.
He preaches that adult day. He just uses those 2 words, that adult day is the future, because it gives respite to everyone. It also gives that peace of mind, and it is engaging because there's other people to interact with. It's like, I want to keep them home until the very end. I want to keep my loved one at home. And it's like, but you're not, oh goodness. In some of the 24/7 situations, I think that there needed to be 9 different people to make sure there was crisscross, that those caregiving people could recover. But even if you could just do it, with 7 people all covering different hours, or 5 people, you are not 5 people. So to know that your loved one can be somewhere where they're going to interact with other groups of people, that's part of life too. Not just going, here I am, I'm at home, especially when home is no longer familiar.
We have a
go ahead, Jim.
A live example. My daughter's mom, my ex-wife, passed, I guess, a little over a year ago with Louis Dotton, Parkinson's, and so she went through I would say, 2 years of gradual decline. And I've always had a good relationship with her. They live in Maine, and we got involved in the caregiving aspect of that, and we went over there for about 6 weeks actually, and helped my daughter out. So pretty familiar with the trauma of what my daughter had to go through as she had to deal with the gradual degrading of of Jan. Her name was Jan. Condition, and it was not a fun thing. And she fortunately had family in the area. And again, you were talking about services. It eventually got to the point where they had to go into hospice for the end, but it's a familiar thing. I did want to say one other thing crossed my mind. You talked about things that are familiar to the patients, whether it be people. I play piano, and I play in nursing homes and assisted living and in memory care. I'm currently working on a set, you might say, of songs for the memory care specific audience. And those would be songs, it could be back in the 40s, 40s or maybe 50s, where they wouldn't be familiar with what you're playing currently, but they'll actually start singing along with these older songs, which is kind of a neat thing.
Right.
Anyway.
I assume you already know, Jim, that it's amazing, but the part of the brain affected by dementia, Alzheimer's, any of the dementia, the last part of that brain to die, for lack of a better word, is the part that stores music memory. And so you can connect with them through music better than anything you can do.
And that's
when you're doing your set, just a suggestion, one of the things you also might do is make certain that some of the little short songs are things that they can play around with. My example is Itsy Bitsy Spider.
Oh yeah, well I'm open for a list of any songs that somebody who has done this before would toss at me. I play by ear, so I can pick up pretty much any tune.
Well, I'd just like to, and I have a bag I take with all sorts of little musical instruments, maybe little ringers that go on their wrist, or mariachis, or drum. And that's another way of getting them interactive in what you're doing. But it's so great to have somebody like you that can sing and play go into these places.
I didn't say I could sing.
He's taking voice lessons. So.
I love that.
That's great. Great.
Oh, that's what I did not realize it at the time, but a gal at sometimes when I went into private residences, they were part of a senior community independent. And here's this one person that just came up to me. Do you know, they say dressed to the nines? I need to look that up and figure out what was special about nine, dressed to the nines. But this, I mean, the lipstick was great. The clothing was great. And when this person approached me, it was, can't you sing with us? And I thought, I love to sing. And then when I started, I passed out some music with these people. It was a situation where the activity coordinator was not there anymore. And this person just really missed those kind of interactions. And then after a while, it was, can't you play the piano or something? No, I can't. But boy, did I love singing with all of them. Had no clue that her husband, good foot taller and, just a gentleman's gentleman, had been in charge of things in the military, was actually keeping the dignity. I had no idea that the reason why I was asked every week, don't you play the piano, was that there wasn't a memory of the week before, because together they, the things that weren't working, the other one helped out with. And they were such a duo. So, and the whole thing about music, when you think about that, people hum, even if they don't enjoy singing or know any songs, but people will hum to a baby. And then, that a whole group of people are just a mishmash of distraction until a familiar tune shows up, to either it's a classroom and you start singing a lineup song, if it's little kids, or, you hear some music, moving to entertainment, the music starts and what show's coming on. And there's an anticipation. I mean, it's throughout our lives. And I love that that is the last thing that folds up, is that part of the brain that responds to music, and how people who haven't said a word in weeks that anyone knows of will start in clearly singing.
Yes.
And what about art therapy?
Oh, yes.
Art therapy?
Yes, yes. So I need to introduce you, unless you already know her. Oh my goodness, it's leaving me. Artfully aging. Oh my goodness, she's right on the tip of my tongue. Anyway, it'll pop up while you folks. I always want to just show you what's inside of my brain so you can go, oh, it's that. So I'm going to remember her name.
Yeah.
Mary Beth, I will find it. But anyway, yes, the involvement in art, and you see the person and you see the art and you're going, whose art are they holding? Because that person looks like they are shutting down. Like maybe they're looking off some other way because someone said smile for the camera. And you're just going, oh my goodness, that's a gorgeous representation, or that's fascinating. What are all those items? And just being guided by a voice, to, reach upward, or dab, 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 dab. You probably do that with people that aren't cognitively challenged, but just with your voice. Mary Jo, I'm so glad that you were willing to just jump in on this conversation. How do you teach someone to do art?
You don't really teach them, especially in the younger grades. You try to bring out their creativity. Most of all, give them really, really good ideas of things to ponder, whether it's family or their favorite animal, or, if they just like doing shapes or whatever. As they get older, you can teach them things like perspective, because they can understand what you're saying. It's almost like math, but it's not easy. It's not easy to teach art. I did a little bit of art therapy when I thought I was going to go in that direction. So that was fun, but I had just put too much effort in my other degree, so I stayed there. But I've always been interested in art and music therapy for elderly people.
I'm so glad that is a degree, or it's part of a degree.
Yeah, it can be.
That is recognized at the highest educational levels,
right?
Because doing something expressively creative with your mouth, with your hands, is not going to have a chemical interaction with other pills.
Yes.
It's not that you're not going to overdose on your favorite genre of music.
Mhm.
I'm just so grateful that these are recognized as something that makes a whole person more whole, or more whole again. It's just amazing. Jim, while we're at this point, my husband, my hubby / producer, D. Scott Smith, motivational listener, who brought me in on doing things live and on camera into microphones to be recorded. He has taken your link that you sent us. It takes about 1 minute and 45 seconds. Jane, did you already click on that link, or did
I'm
that?
not certain. Is that the one with the recording gadget?
Yeah, it's a
Yes.
short-term memory aid.
Yes. I thought, you know what? I would like for that to permanently be on this recording, which will always be available, cataloged under March 27th, 2024.
Great.
Plus, my voice is doing this. So I figure in 1 minute and 45 seconds, I'm going to have my husband go ahead and put that up on the screen, and I will be quiet. In fact, I'm going to mute myself for a moment so that I can glug, glug, glug and get myself rehydrated, and so we can listen really well as well.
That's Gracie.
Hey, Jim.
Hey, Dana.
Don't forget about the church social this Sunday.
Oh, yeah. What time?
It's at 6 o'clock.
Here, let me capture that. Church social, Sunday, 6 o'clock. Got it.
Right. So you said you would bring potato salad and macaroni and cheese. You can just go around back and ask for Joyce.
Okay, let me catch that. Potato salad, macaroni and cheese, around back, ask for Joyce.
So what's that all about?
That's my short-term memory aid. It helps me remember things as I go through the typical day.
Well, I would love to hear more about that.
Oh, cool. We'll stop by later and you can check it out.
Perfect. All right.
Take
See you
care.
later.
Macaroni,
Nice accent.
potatoes, mayonnaise, egg.
So, Jim, tell me about the short-term memory aid product.
I'm glad you asked. I showed it to you earlier. I was wearing it under my clothes, but as you can see, it's a round recorder. It has tactile-friendly buttons. That allows me to operate it without having to look at it. I can activate it in less than 2 seconds by just moving my hand up and pressing the button, test message number 1, and releasing. And you can do that as many times as you want during the day.
That is awesome. How does it charge?
It's a rechargeable battery, and we have a USB port with a recharging cord.
I love this concept. Where would you buy it?
shorttermmemoryaid.com, and we sell it online for less than $50.
I am definitely getting one of these.
Good. I'm glad you said that.
You saw the dog, right?
Yeah, that was crazy.
Jim, I immediately had a question because I'm looking at it for me.
Yeah.
How many messages will it store, or what length of time? And does it pick up the conversation or the voice of someone you're talking to?
Well, it wasn't intended to be a dictaphone. You can do as many messages as you can do in a day. I haven't uncovered how many you can do, but I've used this thing now for 3 years. I've got the prototype, and I don't go out the door without it. It's just become a part of me, and I don't see it, so I don't think about it until I need it. And when I need it, I'm really happy that I've got it. The typical message is going to be around 10, 11 seconds. And you can, like I said, do as many as you want, and you can cancel one, or you can list, or you can cancel all. You're only using 2 buttons, so it's about a 1 minute learning curve on how to play with it. And one good feature is that if you're driving or whatever, you might have noticed I was in the car. You don't have to take your eyes off the road. If you're involved in something, you don't have to really take distracted, other than doing a quick message and then moving on. But you've got it later in the day when you need it.
Well, it can pick up another voice if they're standing if they're standing close to you, and if they are saying it loud enough, it would record them.
Well, a lot of times I'll say, here, you go ahead and do it. I'll push the button and they'll talk, but it'll pick up their voice also. But it's really about capturing thoughts that you would otherwise forget. And that's why I came up with this idea. I can't remember squat anymore. I would be on the way to the store, and I think of something and 1, 2, 3 things. When I get there, I can't remember them. But now I can catch anything I need, whether it's a creative thought or an item on a list, a phone number, somebody's name. I use it for all types of things.
And it's low tech, so.
And it's low tech. Yeah,
elderly people can use it. Even we consider ourselves elderly. We use it because we're not high tech.
Well, the younger people say, well, I've got a phone. But how many, and I'm saying the boomer brain generation, our generation, how many of them really, it's all they can do just to use it as a phone. They're not going to get into any 2-step, 3-step item, picking it up. So it's really just a very simple item that you can use and not use a lot of muscle movement or time.
I think it's great. I think it's great. I'm so glad you brought this to the table.
Well, I've got about 1,200 in my basement.
Yes.
Yeah, I ship them out of my house, and so I've got plenty of inventory currently. It's purchased online at shorttermmemory.com, and it's got the videos, got some instructional videos on how to use it, and it's pretty simple. Sometimes simpler is better, and that's the idea behind this thing. Simple is better than complicated.
Absolutely. Super.
It's what you're going to use. It's what yes, the comfort, the muscle memory, the thing you turn to. It's like, oh, I'll just do it this way. Reliance. That's what I want to bring up, is that you're relying on it, but also if you become too reliant upon, where's mine? If you become too reliant upon this, and it, and I don't know, an app goes missing or it gets changed by the company, it doesn't sound like you are changing yours. It's not attached to a system that when you get back to it, you're like, oh, everything's wiggling or different colors or in different places. And now I need to stop and fiddle with it. And I want to continue driving. I want to continue a conversation or doing what I meant to do that I don't want to forget either. So,
I don't want to have to figure out which app it is that I'm supposed to put a grocery list into so that I can remember when I get to the store. And then I get to the store and it's like, now which app did I have the grocery list in?
Yeah.
No, it's simple. It's a simple answer. And like I said, that's why I came up with it. And a lot of people encouraged me to go ahead and make it. And I designed it on a napkin kind of thing, and got with a product designer and an electronics guy, and told them exactly what I wanted, and that's what we ended up with. So it's first generation also. I mean, there are some improvements in the next generation, But it works fine for me. Like I said, I don't leave home without it, and it is what it is. It's a short-term memory aid.
Fantastic.
It really is. Oh, and I took advantage of that moment. I looked up Mary Beth, and it's Flynn. So Mary Jo, Mary Beth, you two would
Right
be
then.
fast friends. Art is, what she does. It's what she did. She found herself single and a single mother, and she needed to make some changes. And then there were more changes during shutdowns in the last few years. And so she's put together a kit similar to you, Jane, with your bag of things that jingle and clank and rattle, etc. She puts together a kit so that an individual that is either hired or is in a home situation can see how to guide someone to be creative, to create their own style of a representation. I'll just say a tulip or something, a representation. And so it's Mary Beth Flynn, artfully aging. And she just posted that she's got one of those banners that stretches up from the floor and hooks, and she is taking her stuff on the road. So out of necessity, she had to turn her love into something that would make money, and then realized that there was a whole group of people that maybe live in care communities and activity creators, engagement directors. Oh, there's all these different names that are going, I can't teach art. I don't do art. I don't express myself that way. Well, here's a step by step that tells you what to say and what to have ready, and has all the supplies there. And some of the pictures look so much like the original, and some are divergent. And I'm like, yay, they're expressing themselves and how they're feeling, So,
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea. One funny little observation I thought I'd toss in there about the music side is I've had Mary Jo's witnesses, but sometimes when I play at a nursing home, they'll bring in certain lower functioning people, and they're in wheelchairs, and you may have like anywhere from 5 to 10 of them kind of in a semicircle, and I'll start playing, and I'll play for the whole period of time, and I don't know if they're paying attention or not. I think, well, maybe they are, maybe they're not. I'd have no sign. But then I like to play the boogie woogie, and I play Jerry Lee Lewis stuff, Great Balls of Fire, and a whole lot of shaking going on, and Chantilly Lace by the Big Bopper. Anyways, so I start throwing that stuff out there, and I look down, and all of their feet are going tap, 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 tap. So that tells me that they're listening and enjoying. Fortunately.
Yes, it is touching a part of their life. I was thinking, Jane, you said that you have a book that you're waiting for the illustrations to come into it. And that was a book
that's
you created for your nephew?
It's Jackson in the Dyslexia Jungle. And it was a story that got caught in my head after hearing him talk about all the different ways when he was a very small child, to figure out how to hide his dyslexia. And so the point of the book is that the little boy, when he finds out that he's dyslexic, he's kind of ashamed of it. And so the point of the book is that you can still be whatever you want to be. And so he gets put into a class, and a little girl says, well, I want to be an actress. Can somebody with dyslexia be an actress? Well, Whoopi Goldberg, who has won Emmys and Oscars and the other 4 other 2 awards is dyslexic. And another little boy says, well, I want to be an astronaut. And I said, man, that takes lots of science and math. But we had an astronaut that was on the moon, that walked on the moon, that was dyslexic.
Wow.
Steve Jobs was dyslexic. And so, and then my great nephew wanted to be a baseball player. Well, Nolan Ryan, the great pitcher, which is the position that Jackson played, is dyslexic.
Really?
So the point of the Host children's story is that it doesn't matter. You can be whatever you want to be because there are already people who have done it and have proven that people with dyslexia, it's like wearing glasses. You can still do anything you want to do.
Right.
I agree.
Yeah, but now we've got to get back to my real love, my real passion. I was listening to you. My real passion is dementia and dementia caregiving. And I'd like to tell you a short story on how this came to be. I had worked in hospitals and hospice, but I was a caregiver for my mom. And then I've been a caregiver for other people with dementia. And I would get so upset when people would not come to visit, when, for whatever reason, they detach. And finally, working through my anger about it, I was just plain mad, was realizing it wasn't because they didn't love the person anymore, but they didn't know how to visit. And so that became my calling, is teaching friends and family and church organizations where they have the committee for the aging, to not neglect the people with dementia, but still go see them. And here's how to do it. My first book was Visiting with Love. My second book is Communicating with Love. And teaching people how to go see someone with dementia and not just give them up. My one of the first things people will say is, what value of it? 5 minutes after I'm gone, they're going to forget. And I love telling a story. My mother was in memory care, and probably y'all know most memory cares are built in a U shape. The rooms are in a U, and then both sides empty back into a dining room or a sitting area. I went in one time to see my mother, and she was rolling down her wheelchair down her end of the halls, and she saw me and just brightened up and said, well, look who's here. But then she was hyperactive that day, and she kept going. And she rounded the other end of the hallway. Well, I knew where she was ending up, where I was standing. So I just sat down, and she came all the way around that loop, and she came down her hallway again and saw me and says, well, how long have you been here? I'm so glad to see you. And she did it the third time. And that time, when she came down, she said, I've been looking all over for you. Now, I never moved. The point is, every time she saw me, she just broke into the biggest grin and was so happy. And that's when I truly learned this quote is, feelings last longer than memories. And that's what I want people to remember about seeing someone with dementia is feelings. Their feelings of delight, of feeling loved, of feeling appreciated are going to last much longer than their memory of who was there.
Yeah.
So that's encourage visitation.
I think it's hard for loved ones a lot of times to visit because it's hard on them, and they need to realize that it's not about them, it's about the person they're visiting.
Well, that is true, but I'm going to throw out a question and see what y'all think, because you're experts in your field also. Do you think it's because they have a hard time going to visit because they have the oh my goodness, this could be me someday? Do you think that's a problem?
Possibly. Yeah.
Or it's a realization, it's a thought process, like someday I'm going to be like this, and it's not a pleasant thought.
Especially if it's immediate family and you think, oh, I've inherited this, like your parents or whatever.
What do you think, Christine?
I remember we now live in an apartment in Independence, Oregon. It has a main street that's only about 3 blocks long. It doesn't take us long to eat our way and antique our way through downtown Independence. And we were in, I would say, our favorite place to sit. There's games you can play in there, and it's called Brew, and they brew coffee in the morning, and they have other brews for the rest of the day. And here was a person, I will not embarrass them. I will say they are every man. This person looked at my badge, which I don't have on yet, but my badge says Aging Better Network. And this was their response. Well, can you tell me how to end myself? And they did mean end themselves. Can you tell me how to end myself if I end up being one of those loonies that's lost it? And I looked at that as an opportunity, and I talked with them, and I said, well, in the state of Oregon, there is a whole process. And I said, I listened to a podcast, and we just got into this informational conversation. And then I ended with, and I will tell you that because I was hired to come in and give life and restore humanity to people that seem to be all closed off and no longer able to do anything important or whatever you want to say. I said, because I was hired to do that, and it was so delightful for me to just restore some humanity, I said, I'm really not your source for how to end yourself if you find that you are going into some form of dementia. So I tried to address what they were saying with information so that it wasn't me saying, don't talk like that. But I do see what I'm going to imagine for a moment is that person has seen someone else decline and thought, we don't communicate anymore. They tell me they hate me. They tried to throw something at me. They turned away and they just sob. I feel useless. I feel disconnected from this person. And honestly, in my younger years, nobody trained me what to do about that. I just knew that when you got too old, you were put in a place. And it was also true of me, even though I had compassion and love and I had a history with my loved ones. I was like, there's nobody home anymore. Nobody's responding. I didn't know how. I didn't have Jane's book. I didn't know how to visit with love and communicate with love. And then I discovered all these people, both through caregiving, because I became a caregiver because my next door neighbor said, come in Monday and I'll hire you because I've seen how you are with some of our neighbors and you'd be perfect. And I was like, okay. So my hearing diminished, and being in a normal classroom, trying to hear one little voice telling me what they needed was more difficult. And I went, you know what? I'm going to head a different direction. So normally I was with one person and we were both talking very loudly. So yes, I think part of it's fear and part of it is just like, there's nobody home anymore. There's nobody there. And I've become such a different person. Sometimes a person will make faces at a baby until they get a response. And then they're delighted. Like that was the high point of their hour. And for me to be there when someone was either restful or very agitated, and for that one moment where it was like, well, what is that? It's like, that's a pickle. What do you do with it? Well, you can take a taste. Here, I'll cut up some. Well, I love these. Why haven't I had these before? I'm delighted. That makes my whole day, you know? So I became better informed. I heard from Teepa Snow via a bunch of videos that was recommended to me that I watched, that was handed to me when later on I got a job elsewhere. Was handed to me as, we just hand these out because everyone should know how to approach a person, so that there is less of the negative and much more of what's good for both people. And yes, your mom kept seeing you and she knew, this is the face that makes me feel happy. And she had her happy response. So, wow.
Okay, I'm going to jump in on something else I wanted to comment.
Good.
Piggybacking on you. One of you commented about how people feel guilty about putting people into memory care centers or putting them into nursing homes. And I'd like to tell you how I respond to this, because I think that keeps them away from visiting as their only guilt. And I said, the greatest lie we ever said is when I looked at Mom and said, I promise you're never going into a nursing home. And I've said it, and I felt the guilt. And what I've realized and what I tell caregivers is, don't say that, because what you're really meaning is, Mom, I promise I'm always going to take care of you, that you're always going to be taken care of well, given your medicines, well fed, well dressed and clean. And that's what we're really saying when we're saying, I promise not to put you in a nursing home. We're saying, I'm not going to forget you ever. I'm going to love you forever. And I'm going to make certain that you are all the things you associate with being at home. So another thing I like to pass on to the caregivers.
That's a tough situation.
Yes. When you're only just starting a decline, that is kind of a life preserver, or something that you want tossed to you. Is, you have to promise me. I did the opposite the other day. We have a daughter who's 25. She and her husband have talked to each other and said, we're never putting anybody in a home. They said it to each other. I asked her why she felt that way. Obviously, I worked around people and I was hired in. And she said, well, it's just mean. And so I specifically told her the other day that some characteristics of people that myself and others who I say hired, they do it as their profession. They're good at it. They're available. They take a respite. It's called done with your shift, and they come back fresh again. And I said, if I end up exhibiting this much need, or this much disassociation with my environment and with the people around me, I said, please promise me that you will place me. Oh, I can't say that. And I said, I want you to survive. I didn't raise you to wear you out. So I gave her an option. I said, find a home. Our 25-year-old daughter is African-American. We're parents by adoption. And I said, find one of the homes around here where, like, there's a family an extended family from, say, Ghana or one of the countries that she knows she has a background in because she's done, I don't remember which part of the continent that she has ancestry from. But I said, find one that's got like a whole Ghana family or a, Nigerian family that's running it. And I said, and I can put you in touch right now with people in our area, an hour away, who do music. It's John Van Beek. He's been on my show in the past. I said, John Van Beek comes in and does music. He knows which one of those smaller situations that they're cheery in the background, that the workers are really loving to the people, he gets to see. And maybe you've experienced this, Jim, that you're just like, if I had to be in a place, I would want it to be here because they have a big screen TV or they have a view of the mountain or whatever it is. And these people are loving what they're doing, and they're loving the families as the families walk in there. Come on in. I want to tell you what happened 2 days ago. They saw this and they really enjoyed it. And I said, I can put you in touch with him. He's a lot younger than I am, and he'll still be doing music. And he will tell you which one of the groups. And I said, I've been to Romania, and I remember some of what I learned of how to speak Romanian. You could put me into literally a house that has maybe only 4 other people. And you can go there going, I love coming here. I love knowing the other people that are working, the other people that are living here, the other families that are coming and expressing love and are interacting. I said, then it'll be something that you enjoy. And that made her feel better. I'm glad that you brought that up because we just had that conversation Saturday. We were playing Skip-Bo.
What goes through my mind when I think of people having that conversation? I guess part of it is fear on the part of the person that's going to be the one going into the nursing home. Maybe they're not cognitively down enough to need to go, but at some point they're going to go. And I think there's a fear level of that person saying, please don't put me in a nursing home, because I think one thing is they're familiar with they've got their favorite dog, they've got their favorite room, they've got their outside, they're so attached to their home that they just don't want to go. So it could be a timing thing. And so before they have to go, they may be asking their loved ones, please don't send me there because I want to stay here. And that's a tough thing, and that actually puts some guilt on the part of the family member. That how do you answer that?
Well, another thing I will relate to caregivers is when they start in I just want to go home, take me back home. Mm-hmm. Are you here to pick me up? Start asking questions about where their memory is. Mother did this, and I used for a long time, I used what I call therapeutic fibbing. I said, well, Mom, you're in this rehab because you fell at home, and as soon as you get strong, I'm going to take you back there. Mm-hmm. But then I came up with something else that I found real interesting when I started asking her what home looked like. She just started describing the house where I was raised in 1954 down in the valley. So my perception of when she said, are you taking me home, was not the home that she had in her memory.
Yeah.
And that relieved a lot of my guilt.
I've got an example of that. It's a humorous example. My dad became cognitively challenged he's in his late 80s when he passed, and he had dementia, and we had a big celebration of his birthday in another state. He lived in Jacksonville, Florida, and the big birthday party was in Central Georgia. So I was taking him home, And he would say, "Where are you taking me?" I'm saying, "I'm taking you back to Jacksonville home." He said, "I don't live in Jacksonville. Take me to Warner Robins, Georgia right now." So he was getting mad, and I was saying, "No, I got to take you." He almost got mad. I thought he was going to hit me in the car, turned all red faced. And this went on for like 2.5 hour drive. And he was just beside himself that he lived in Warner Robins, which he did years and years ago. And so he did this. And finally, when we got there, we drove up and I pulled in the parking lot. He says, "Well, we made it." Yep.
He was
wow.
Well, we made it.
But they're in Jacksonville. They were in Jacksonville where he really lived.
Ugh. Hey, I'm going to jump in to say that I ended up writing a Care Griever Kit. And thanks to All's authors, a handful of volunteers who look through books having anything to do with dementia, how-tos, stories for children to understand the dementia that has come into their family. It has a dementia dimension, and it really is super short. It's so skinny. Once again, caregivers, but any human being that is experiencing grief, this is a description of putting together a physical container of things for you that you can go to if you're solo aging, if you're the type who has anticipatory grief, if you find yourself looking through obituaries every day to see who else you've lost out of your community, whatever it is, this is a way for you to healthfully grieve and to find a way to approach your own times of sorrow. It is not a get over it kit. It is I might be grieving again. Oh, no wonder. It's Mom's birthday. My goodness, I haven't thought about this in months. And I'm feeling sad that I haven't thought about it in months. And so it would be something that helps you. Oh, just go ahead and get it. It's cheap.
Where is that available?
Oh, on Amazon. On Amazon. And when you go to my page is agingbetternetwork.com. Agingbetternetwork.com. You can see the actual Amazon link, because the link will get you there immediately. Just trying to put in the name, it keeps thinking, you mean caregiver. It's like, no, I mean caregriever. The other one is just 52 different general issues that hit you if you live long enough. I suppose one person could experience all 52. Some of them won't relate to you, but they'll relate to someone who's your best friend. And it might be, aren't I too old to be caring for someone this young? Because the grandkids have come into your home because something is going awry with their own parents. And it might be, why am I being disregarded? I'm the senior member of this group of people. I have the most experience. Why am I being disregarded? Is it because I say, oh, I don't like using my phone? There's just this app. I get confused. It's like, well, we won't bother you with this information because it might be confusing to you. It's all of those things, including, going, the fear of aging, fear of the problems that sometimes are part of continuing to live. And that's been the talk. I mean, I wanted to write this 10 years ago, and that's been the talk is, wow, more people, more years, more longevity worldwide, thanks to more health. And so being able to deal with really, this isn't a cure for everything. It is emotional intelligence and relational resilience that you can start building today. So that's what that's about. Jane, just say the best way people can get a hold of you.
At dementiacareshare.com.
DementiaCareShare.com.
There we go. It's on the screen. Yes, ma'am.
Yay. And I heard you saying, Mary Jo, I heard you saying, write that down. All's authors, ALZ, and then authors, all one word. So that's great. And Jim, let's get your basement empty. How do we all buy this?
We have a website, and you can buy it online, and it's short-term memory aid. Just spell it out, no spaces. Short-termmemoryaid.com. So it's pretty simple, but it is long.
Good.
I have all
Short-term
my notes
memory
that I've
aid.
made from this broadcast.
Yay.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness, we've come to the end. We covered so much. I am so glad I got to meet your wife. I hear about other people in the room or in the house or that are involved, and sometimes I never get to see their face. So this was a delight. Jane, thank you so much. I'll see you when I get to Texas, literally in just a couple weeks.
Yeah,
So you know where to find me. And thank you so much, Jim. Thank you for scratching something down on a napkin, a paper towel, piece of paper somewhere, and really making it happen. That's who I want on this screen, are people who go, so there seems to be a challenge here. I guess I'm the one that's got to fix it.
There you go.
Yeah, right.
Yay. Thank you so much. I'll see you again sometime. Thank you, Mary Jo and Jim and Jane.
Thank you.
You.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.